Shut up and sit down.
All right, cool. I'm just going to get right into it with my Beardo episode. This is going to be a quick episode with RB3. How's it going, man?
Hey, thanks for having me on. I'm very honored to be the first reoccurring guest on the Don't Be a Beardo podcast.
Yeah, this is actually 19 episodes later. You're the first reoccurring one.
Yeah, number one.
Thank you for actually doing the first episode because I always wanted to do my own podcast, and I asked you not knowing if you would say okay. And because you said yes, then that started the whole podcast.
Thanks, man. Of course, man. I'm always happy to be somewhat involved in, I guess, the podcast channel or the SK Plus stuff, since that's a big area of what we're doing now.
Yeah, man, you're super involved with Schmoes. You do all the behind the scenes. You do a bunch of shit on them or on the channel.
Yeah. For SK Plus, I'm usually the one who gets the podcast up. So like when you send them or an Oracle or somebody, that's usually my thing. But so yeah, I mean, whenever I get to be on the other end of the podcast cycle, I'm more happy to oblige.
Yeah, you like being on the mic. You like being like talking and being a host or a guest.
Well, sometimes. I mean, it depends if what we're talking about, right? I guess last time being on the Beardo show, it was cool to like kind of talk about and reveal a lot of my personal life and whatnot. So
yeah, do you mind revealing all that stuff, or is it like kind of like frightening to you?
No, I mean, I think for people to understand other people, it's important to like hear people's stories. So like, I hope that my last Beardo episode was an opportunity for people to get to see a little bit into the life of RB3.
Yeah, I feel like we should do a whole nother episode, just like an update and like refresher, because that was so long ago now, or feels like a long time ago. It was like 6 months ago.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Didn't you say you got some shit from friends? They're like, come on, man, like you're bullshitting in some of the stories you told.
Oh, they're like, yeah, they're like, you didn't paint me in like a positive light when I, so they weren't okay with that, and some people were like, oh yeah, you're like 100% right on with some of your stuff, so it's funny.
But yeah, man, I like getting into the behind the scenes with people because we just see them on the Schmoes or on Collider or on Movie Talk, whatever, and we don't really know like where they came from or how they got here and stuff like that. So I think it's interesting to hear like, oh, I met Christian through this like 10 or so years ago, and then now I'm here where I'm at.
Right, yeah. I mean, like that's cool too. You get context to everybody's story and how they got involved in this, and I don't know. I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, man. So thank you for coming back on here because I know this is gonna premiere on the episode of the week of Comic-Con, so we're all gonna be busy with that. I'm already like trying to plan out shit for that. So this is going to be a quick episode. I just want to like hear your take because Comic-Con, your first year for Comic-Con was last year, right?
Yep, I had. Ever since I was a kid, I was always dreaming of going to Comic-Con, but like we can never afford it. So working at Schmoes last year was the first time I ever got to go.
Yeah, man. I don't know how anyone can afford it. Aren't the tickets like $200 to $300 for the weekend, and then plus hotels and eating and everything else? It's like $1,000 for the weekend.
Yeah, I mean it's nuts. It's very expensive, and not to mention the difficulty of getting those tickets, right? I mean, I guess those like lockout rooms for the tickets go out like really fast in like a couple of minutes or whatever. So
you mean you have to get like on the raffle thing or
yeah, like I mean, I don't know. I never personally experienced it, but I think you have to go into like a virtual room and kind of wait for like the tickets to open up, and then like they sell out and like super quickly.
Oh.
You have to be registered like a year and ahead and all this stuff. So I don't know. I never fooled around with it, but getting to be with Schmoes, that was like a dream come true because it's like I get to go to Comic-Con and experience all of that. So
and how long were you with Schmoes before you got the chance to go to Comic-Con?
I began working with Schmoes in April, and that's July. So about 4 months.
Oh shit, you're only with them for a little bit. I thought it was like a year or so you're with them.
No, yeah, it was pretty early on, and like when I initially came on, I didn't think I was gonna go, but they needed hands, so they need a lot of help doing the cons. So
Do you remember them asking you if you wanted to go to Comic-Con?
yeah, I remember it was about May or June. I want to say like late May, when they started talking a little bit about going to Comic Con, and I gotta be honest, I was like, oh man, am I going to go? And like they kind of, and I guess it was insinuated that I was gonna be going, so I was super excited
Oh yeah,
about.
you were still like unsure if the new guy was going to get invited to Comic-Con.
Right.
But they already had plans for you to go. They're like, "Oh yeah, RB3 is going to come. He's going to help us out."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so like what were your specific duties down there?
Well, they have split us up into 2 teams. So there's the movie team with Christian, Mark, Copster, and Miri, and then there's the TV team, and that team was me, Ace, um, David Griffin, and Michael Medina.
Oh, okay.
So what the movie team were basically just camped out at Hall H for the whole Comic Con, getting into the big halls and the big stuff.
Mhm.
Us for the TV side, we were just going to panel after panel after panel to cover different TV shows that had, because it's not just Hall H. The TV ones have like different scale ballrooms for different events and all that kind of stuff. So I remember we waited a long time to get to the DC superhero ones, in particular. Like that was a huge wait to get into that one. Rick and Morty was one of the biggest waits that we had.
How long is like a long wait? Like a couple hours or longer?
Well, we had got into the Rick and Morty line like I think like 3 hours before, and we still like had a hard time getting in.
Oh
It was
shit.
yeah, and what we would do is sometimes I would be with David, and Ace would be with Michael Medina,
Uh-huh.
and like they would go to one panel while we were standing in line for another, and then as our panel went in, they'll be in line for another. So it'll kind of switch off like that.
Oh, so it's just like a constant like go 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 type thing. Like if you're not waiting in line, you're in the panel.
Right, basically. And then but for the big ones like the DC superhero ones, we're all in that. For the um what was another big one we're all in? Well, we all saw the Killing Joke movie,
Oh yeah, yeah.
uh
What
the animated movie that night.
that was like a midnight showing or like really late, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very, very late. And I remember us getting out super late and just being exhausted. But I remember that experience in particular because they had shown the movie, and a lot of people were really upset about like the way they portrayed uh
Batgirl
Gore.
or
Yeah, Batgirl. Yeah,
yeah,
there
yeah.
we go. Batgirl, Barbara Gordon,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Batman relationship. And
They're
people
like
were,
hooking up in the movie.
yeah, I mean it's disgusting. And they, it basically made like Batman a frat boy. Yeah, and I don't know, it was crazy. So they had so after the movie they had a Q&A with all of the people who were involved, like the voice actors, like the directors, the producers, all that.
uh
And people got up and were livid. Like one lady was arguing back and forth with her. It was nuts.
oh
So
with the creator of that movie?
yeah.
And
Like it was,
didn't you say like the he was like fighting back? Like he was pretty
yeah, he called her
defensive?
a pussy and all this stuff. Like
The
it
director
was insane.
of the Killing Joke called the woman a pussy?
I'm not sure if it was the director or the main producer over there at DC Animation, but it was one of those guys, and it was insane. It was nuts.
Did they do like an intro to the movie? Like, hey, this is our take on the movie. This is what we're gonna do. This is how we approached it. We got Mark Hamill back, and then they showed the movie, or did they just like show the movie first?
No, they had an intro, and the intro was a lot of fun, because like Mark Hamill wasn't actually there, but he like called in via phone and put like the phone to the microphone and whatnot.
Uh-huh.
But it was the intro was really fun because they were saying, yeah, we added this whole nother chapter to it, a whole nother layer that we're hoping to explore. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And they're like, yeah, we really made effort to make Batgirl likable in this movie. So all of us were like already like seated in for seeing something like that. And I think that was really the first ever screening of that movie. So we were like the first audience to ever see it.
Yeah, it wasn't like wide release theaters yet or anything. It was, but it was still like the final version though, right? Like
Yeah, it was the final version. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, 100%. Like they're getting ready to put it out a few days later.
oh okay. And
Yeah.
had you read The Killing Joke before that?
I had read The Killing Joke. That's one of the few like classic Batman comic books that I own.
Yeah,
And
and
so I
and
was
it's a
very
great story, right? So like you were pumped for the movie. Yeah.
and especially bringing Mark Hamill back and Tim Conroy and all those people, Tara Strong, voicing Batgirl. So I was super excited for it.
So
Uh,
like how long into the movie you were like, okay, this isn't the movie I wanted, or I'm pretty disappointed in the movie?
well, I was never disappointed.
Oh,
I'll
I
say
thought you
that.
didn't like it.
I loved the hilariosity of it. That's what I like. I laughed so hard, and you can ask Ace and you can ask David. I was laughing through the entire movie.
But it's
And
not supposed to be funny though.
no, well, no, it's not supposed to be funny, but I thought it would work a lot better if it was intended to be funny. So I think I ended up probably like the least disappointed out of all of us on the crew who saw it at that point. But that was only because like I took it more as this is so goofy and off the wall that this is happening here. But
That they literally have like a sex scene between Batman and Batgirl. A-
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then the
It was
movie.
like the whole stereotypical like bad girl has like this gay best friend who she's talking to talking about Bruce Wayne to, and it was just I don't know, it was funny in that sense.
Oh,
But
it was like a movie made in like the 90s or like a bunch of like tropes of the 90s.
yeah, exactly.
Like
Yeah,
gay
yeah.
best friend talking about her crush, which is Batman, and then they finally hook up, and then like he treats her like shit and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I thought it was really funny. But yeah, seeing the crowd's reaction to it was something else. And especially it ending so late. Like after it ended, there was nobody in the convention center.
Uh-huh.
So and all the lights were shut off. So we had to film a review somewhere. So I remember like lugging around because I was the one in the crew who had the camera and the tripod. So I was lugging around all the stuff, trying to find a location
Yeah.
to film the review of it immediately after. And we shot like half of it like outside the convention center, but right when we were like right halfway through it, the light shut off, so we had to find somewhere else.
Did that make it into like you when you upload it on YouTube? Is it still on YouTube where you can see like the lights went out?
No, we didn't. We actually ended up moving to like a nearby hotel.
Oh, and
And,
you reshot the whole thing?
yeah, yeah, which I think actually came out a lot better because it looks like if you watch it, we're actually kind of proud. It looks like this like luxurious background of doing a Batman Killing Joke review, but it was just actually some hotel nearby.
But yeah, I remember because I went last year just for the last day for Saturday to help out with the Schmoes crew
Mhm.
because Finstock bailed out. He went to like Mexico or some shit.
Right.
But I
See, well,
what's that?
I'm sorry. I was gonna explain like, yeah, what Tom and Brett were doing, they were like the runners. So like,
Okay, they ran the
I,
footage like after you guys shot the footage, they would run it back to the hotel.
yeah, like, yeah, exactly. So on our team, on the TV team, I was like the camera guy with the camera and the
The giant
SD cards
tripod
and
and the
whatnot.
yeah,
The
yeah.
giant tripod, yeah. And Copster was down the other team, except he had a much smaller camera and much smaller
Yeah, you had like
tripod.
an old school like style like news reporter type camera like on your shoulder type thing, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was yeah, I don't know. I came a little over prepared, I think.
But yeah, so
um
you guys, you and Brett, or you and Ace and Griffin and Medina would go to different panels and then shoot the footage, and then Brett and Finstock would grab it and run it to the hotel where the guy would edit it.
yeah, and there's an editor who was camped out at the hotel. His name's Aaron, and he did an incredible job, edited like 40 something videos that weekend or something like that. So, but
Yeah,
he's basically just camped out there the whole time, editing the footage and uploading it like immediately.
yeah, I remember he had his whole setup. He had this whole workflow where it's just like record, move, edit, post, and like the reaction video would be up within like minutes of the actual like announcement or release of like a Thor trailer or something.
Right, exactly. It was super efficient, man, and like I said, Aaron, he was incredible. He's the one who edits the Schmoedowns as well. So
Yeah, he does like the whole like Schmodown events, like the collisions and the spectaculars and all that.
yeah, yeah,
Going back to your first Comic Con, did you drive down there with Ace? If I
yeah,
remember.
yeah. I rode with Ace down. Yeah, Ace gave me a ride because I thought that we were all going to go together,
Uh huh.
but it turned out like Copster and Cody had a we're going by train.
Oh yeah.
So me and Ace, we ended up. I reached out to Ace asking if he had a ride, and he said he'll drive both of us down. So
Did you go Wednesday night or Tuesday night, or what day did you go?
we left super early Thursday morning.
Oh, you went in the morning.
Yeah. We didn't have Wednesday hotels.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I'm thinking about leaving Wednesday night, but I don't know how the hotel situation is gonna be. So I might just leave Thursday morning.
Right.
Are you going Thursday morning again this year?
Well, I think I'm going Wednesday night. I think me and Ace are probably gonna ride out Wednesday night.
Uh-huh.
Because I believe the schmoes said they had something set up for Wednesday. I'm not exactly sure, but
Okay.
uh, yeah,
So but you guys are actually like at a hotel, or you were at a hotel like what, like a mile from the convention center?
yeah, a little over a mile from the convention center. It was the DoubleTree, I believe,
And
and
you
it
would
was a pretty cool spot.
yeah, and
We had to take a shuttle every
you
morning.
would shuttle back and forth through the convention center?
Yeah,
Like equipment
exactly.
and everything, like all that on the shuttle bus?
Yeah, well, they had, like, giant shuttle buses with, like, undercart, like, places to put, like, under storage, like, under the bus.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, so a lot of us, like, a lot of Comic-Con coverage people were staying at the hotel, so a lot of us will be putting the cameras and the tripods under there,
Oh,
right before
okay.
taking off, so.
Do you remember the first thing you did when you went to Comic-Con?
The first thing we did, we got there, I believe, Thursday morning at 10 o'clock, and they had just finished up, I believe it was the Teen Titans Go panel.
Uh-huh.
So right after, me and Ace didn't get there for the panel, but David Griffin and Michael Medina were already in there.
Oh, okay.
So as they got out, we just filmed their reaction and
Oh, so
took care of
you
it.
just hit the ground running. You're like, "Okay, now we're here. We're just starting to work." Like, there's no time to walk around or anything.
We started off like pretty much right off the bat, but it wasn't it wasn't like as soon as we got there, we were pulling out cameras and recording. It was more like we're still waiting for the panel to start and whatnot. They were just already in there.
Oh,
So it was
okay.
about like an hour in between us showing up and us actually starting to like get moving.
Okay. Did you get a chance to walk around, like, the actual floor?
I saw a little bit of it, but we eventually, I believe, like Saturday, we had a chance to really walk around and see the floor.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, I got a question from Twitter from Preston B. He says, "Is Comic-Con fun, especially how crowded it is?"
it's super fun, man, and I mean the crowd is something else. I really didn't expect that at all. How crowded it would be, but man, I say that's one of the top like 2 or 3 experiences I've ever had in my life, man. Because that was, it was fun to be around that entire culture of film fans, comic book fans, TV fans, getting to see, like, this huge array of comic book artwork and all this stuff. It was cool, so that was a great experience for me.
Oh, yeah, it's like people come from, like, all over the world, like, to San Diego Comic-Con, and so it's cool to see, like, the community of comic book nerds and all the film fans and everything, like, they all join forces at Comic-Con, right?
Right, exactly. I mean, you see more Harley Quinns there than you'll ever see anywhere else,
Oh, yeah,
so.
that was I remember because Suicide Squad was about to come out, I think. I think it came out in August of last year, so, like, a month after Comic-Con. So,
Right.
like, every girl was dressed as Harley Quinn.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
you think, like, everyone's gonna be dressed as Wonder Woman now?
Yeah, I think we're gonna see a lot of Wonder Womans. I mean, I from my understanding, Harley Quinn's always been like super popular, but
Oh.
with the new iteration of her with like the fishnets and the t-shirt, that's what really came out of nowhere. But yeah, I believe we're gonna see a lot of Wonder Womans. Saw a lot of Deadpools last year.
Oh, yeah.
So I think we're gonna see a lot of that too.
I wonder, because I think because Spider-Man just came out, I think maybe we'll see more Spider-Mans or still more
Ooh, that's a good one.
Deadpool. What's that?
Oh no, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of comic books out right now. Maybe Guardians of the Galaxy. Do you remember, like, like an awesome, what is it, cosplay that you've seen?
For Guardians, not really, but
Or for any superhero or, film thing?
yeah, I mean, there are some people dressed as like full minions, which I thought, goddamn, it's like 80, 90 degrees out
Yeah,
here.
yeah, it's hot
Just
down there,
me.
especially with like it's the crowd.
Right, right. I mean, it's excessive. Um, I think there was one family, and this was the most impressive. It was an entire family of like 10 to 15 people had all dressed up as the characters from Book of Life. And it was like perfect like recreation of those characters. And it was nuts.
Book of Life. Which one's that one?
That was like the I believe Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, okay.
It's like an animated film.
Like a stop motion type thing, or is it fully animated?
I believe it's fully animated.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember like
So,
all the families go all out. Like even the kid is like a small version of the character, like the
right.
baby.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I have another question from Lucas Blanco on Twitter. He says, "What are you most excited for this Comic-Con?"
What am I most excited for? Well, we're trying to get into the screening they're having, the special Netflix screening. There's a lot of speculation that that's going to be Death Note.
Oh,
So
okay.
so I'm really hoping we're able to get into that.
Oh, didn't you see last year like or was it just a trailer for not one of the Netflix shows, not Jessica Jones, but another one. Like
Oh, right.
I can't think of the not
Like Luke Cage. Luke
yeah,
Cage.
yeah,
That
so
was the big one.
that was the first time you saw the trailer, or did they show like an episode back or last year?
Well, I wasn't in that panel at that time.
Oh, okay.
They had the Marvel TV panel and the Mr. Robot panel happening at the same time.
Oh,
So
okay.
then I was at the Mr. Robot panel with David Griffin
Uh-huh.
and Ace and Mike Medina has seen the other one,
Oh,
uh,
okay.
Marvel stuff.
So how late in the day does like the work go? Does everything start like wrapping up around 6 or 7? Like the actual like panels and convention in the convention center?
Yeah, but I believe the panels start wrapping up about 6 or 7, but we had finished up all of our important ones at like 6:30. So like pretty much by the time they were filmed, it'll be about 7-ish, and then and the footage will be off, and then it'll go up pretty soon after. And I remember that day in particular with the Marvel TV stuff and the Luke Cage stuff and the Mr. Robot stuff. We had After those panels were over, we all went outside to meet all the schmoes because they're doing like the Schmo Collider meetup. So we have filmed our reviews of those panels like right outside of like the meetup pretty much that we're having. So
Okay, so the meetup was like at a bar?
yeah, I was at a bar. I was at the Fox Sports bar, I believe at Bayfront, which is like right next to the convention center.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, like we had pretty much walked out there and did that. That's why that was like the only time you got to see me in front of the camera at Comic Con was because like Copster was manning the camera.
Oh,
We're talking about Mr. Robot.
yeah. And so like after everything wraps up in the day, does everyone just go out and party in San Diego?
Yeah. Pretty much after that, it's just all partying. And obviously, I'm not the oldest to party, but um, yeah. I mean, I guess it was kind of dry last year for a lot of the guys.
What do you
I
mean
mean,
dry?
yeah, like in terms of like going to like a bunch of the parties. I mean, I remember we were just a lot of us like Copster, Cody, Ace were just like walking around. They're going to different bars and stuff. I mean, obviously, we're all going to bars, but I'm not going to be drinking at those bars.
Yeah.
But they had but yeah, a lot of times it was just us walking around and kind of exploring.
So because I hear about all these parties like the IGN parties or the Nerdist parties, do all the schmoes and Collider guys go to those?
Well, a lot of times it'll be like Christian, Mark, Miri last year who was with us. Like a lot of the bigger, people. We almost got into the Screen Junkies had a big party. We almost got into that one, I think.
Oh, they had
But
like a meetup party or just an event type thing?
uh, yeah, like a big event. Like they I think they had the House of Blues or something like that, and
Oh,
they had
yeah.
it like all packed out. And they also had the Hitflix party. I believe that was usually every Wednesday night. But I don't even think Hitflix still exists, so I don't think they're
Oh.
having that party this year. So
So what time do you like return to the hotel and go to bed? Is it like 1 in the morning?
yeah, about one or two.
Damn, and you have to wake up and do it all again the next day?
Pretty much, yeah. But it's fun though, man. I mean, like I said, it's really cool to be able to uh, see all of this because this is all new to me. You know, this is a whole nother universe of people.
Uh-huh.
And it was kind of weird. Like, even as we are walking the streets at night, there are people who are walking up to us. It's like, hey, are you Copster? Are you Ace? Are you RB3? You know, like, I'm like, what? This is strange. So
Oh, you actually got recognized on the streets of San Diego?
yeah, a couple of times. Yeah. So like as the night, because at night it was still like a ton of people like on the streets just walking around, like go trying to get into different parties and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like in the middle of like downtown San Diego, so there's like bars on every corner for people to go to
Right, exactly.
and all the hotels and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Was there anything that surprised you last year, or things where you were actually like shocked? Did you meet anybody or like see anybody you were fans of?
Well, I mean, at the time, I was just still fans of like all these guys, like all the Schmoes people, all the Collider people. I was still just fans of them, and Jeremy. That was the first time I met Jeremy Johns was last year at Comic Con, and
Oh, you were a big fan of him before that?
yeah, huge fan. And I remember the first thing I said to him was like, "Hey, Jeremy, I've been watching your channel for a long time. Me and my and my roommate at the time was a big fan of him too. So I was like, yeah, can I get a selfie to send my roommate?" And he was like, "Sure, man." It was a very affectionate moment. So
And he took it, and you have that selfie still?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
you send it to your roommate?
Yeah. Like, bro, what the fuck?
He's like, you got to meet Jeremy Johns.
Yeah. So that was fun, and yeah. So like I said, during that time was just a lot of fun being around in those areas. But it was also cool to see like big celebrities there too, like Kevin Smith or like other people who were just like around and like on the floor and all that stuff. So
Oh, you did get to walk the floor and see people on the floor?
yeah, during when there was some downtime,
Uh-huh.
my apologies. During Saturday, Ace and I had the opportunity to go out and see a lot of the floor and go to the different areas because there's the main floor and then they have like the other area where they have like the signings for the like the autographs and whatnot. Um,
Oh, okay. So
and yeah,
yeah.
so different areas. We got to see a lot of that.
Oh, okay. Because I remember I was in Hall H, like saving seats for the schmoes, so they can see all the releases and do all the panels or do all the uh, review footage. So then
Mhm.
I got to see like everybody in Hall H, like when they did the Wonder Woman, they did the Batman, the Justice League, and all that. Like it's crazy that all the people just came there to do these panels, and like that,
Right.
yeah, and that's when like Marvel came out with Kevin Feige and Chris Pratt and everybody, and they made the announcement for Brie Larson to be Captain Marvel.
Oh, you were there in the room?
I
You
wa
got to see all that?
I wasn't in the room, but I was like outside the door because like I saved the seats for the schmoes, and they're like, okay, we'll take it from here. And I was like, okay, you guys are doing the review. I'm just here to run the footage.
Right. Oh, okay. See, yeah, I mean, there weren't any big like celebrities who were coming to represent like the TV sides of anything.
Oh, like,
Probably
oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, no, I was gonna say like probably the biggest one was the Mr. Robot one where they had like all the cast there and they were in the middle of the season, so they couldn't really talk about much. But it
Oh,
was more of like all of the big actors and stuff were there for that one. So
okay. So like the creator, like Sam Esmail was there and Rami Malek was there.
well, Sam Esmail wasn't there. They said he was literally like editing still, like editing that episode for the next week.
Oh wow.
So like so he wasn't available, but like yeah, Remy Malik and all of Christian Slater.
Oh, he was there.
Um, yeah, and Chris Hartwell was the one. Did I say Chris Hartwell?
Chris
Um,
Hardwick.
Hardwick. There we go.
Yeah.
I was thinking of our esteemed
Yeah, yeah.
colleague. But
Yeah,
yeah,
he was moderating that panel.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you get like Chris Hardwick does like such a good job moderating. He knows how to handle the room and handle like the guests and everybody. I remember Conan was the one for I believe DC. I want to say.
I believe so. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, yeah. Now I'm thinking about it. Yeah, he was.
Hmm. So is there
Yeah.
anything else that surprised you, or anything else that like stood out where you're like, hey, this is awesome. This is why people come to Comic Con.
Well, it was just also like the overly positive environment. Like if you like a lot of times I like the only time I've ever been familiar with conferences is I know we kind of touched on it in the first Beardo podcast, but I used to go to these programs called the NSB, National Society of Black Engineers, in
Uh-huh.
high school, which were they had conferences every year, but those were like they were kind of like Comic Con set up in convention centers, but it was just instead of like the fun like comic book, pop culture stuff. Over there is more like big engineering companies looking to hire people.
Oh yeah.
So
It's
so seeing like a positive and like fun and light spin on that was eye opening for me.
yeah. The other one is more like business oriented. This one's more fun and more free.
Right, exactly, exactly.
Mm.
Yeah. And people are you see a lot of interesting people there. You meet cool people just hanging around and being in the area. And so yeah, I mean it was one of the most fun times I've ever had.
Mm. Did you dress up last year for anything?
No, I didn't cosplay at all.
Ah,
No.
because I saw you posted a review for Spider-Man. You have a Spider-Man costume.
Yeah, yeah, I do, yeah.
Are you gonna wear it this
Uh
year?
no, I'm not gonna
Come on.
wear
You had like the full outfit.
uh
You were dancing in it.
yeah. Oh, you saw my Spider-Man review?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I saw you were like in a production in high school, like doing a dance to Spider-Man.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, in high school we have this big dance show that happens every year. Uh,
You still have that suit?
it used to be like on the yeah, I still have it. I still have it. It's in a closet somewhere.
You got to wear it, man.
I gotta take it out to Comic-Con.
Yeah,
I gotta maybe
uh,
the next step. But no, I'm very excited for it.
yeah. So then you get home. What is it? Sunday afternoon or Sunday night, and you're just like exhausted.
Yeah, we were super exhausted Sunday.
But
Sunday was nuts. We had drove back. Uh, I believe it was like Sunday. We left the hotel at 10 a.m. So we got back. Like Ace went to his place, and then I ended up leaving from his place to go home. But Ace was like ready to knock out like as soon as he pulled up. Like,
oh yeah, because it's draining, and then he has to drive an hour and a half back.
right, 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 right. And that's not even to mention traffic, right? Like
Oh
the
shit.
traffic coming back from Comic Con was nuts.
Yeah, I can imagine. I left later just so I didn't have to deal with the traffic.
Mm,
But
yeah,
yeah, I know it's a nightmare, but it's fun,
right.
right?
No, it is fun. Yeah, it's very fun. And Ace and I had some very interesting conversations. I mean, I think that's how we ended up becoming like so close in terms of like our opinions on like a lot of different things in film.
Oh yeah,
Uh, uh,
because you guys talk for an hour and a half in the car ride. It's just you two.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So do you you,
Um,
you guys you said you had the same like similar taste in movies or music or all?
Well, we have a similar taste in music, and then in movies, we I mean we like talking a lot about like social representation and talking a lot about those different aspects of film that like really only me and him I think like address on a regular basis. So
Oh, like
uh,
like the deeper meanings of like behind the film, not just like the surface level things, like going beyond the story.
right, exactly. Like looking at something like Get Out, talking about its representation of minorities and stuff like that. We have had a lot of those conversations in the past, and honestly, I really enjoy having those combos with Ace because he brings an interesting perspective to a lot of things, like with the Ghost in the Shell thing, and he's very knowledgeable too. So
Yeah, he
uh,
knows all about anime and movies as well.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he's one of the smartest, like sharpest cats that I know, like in terms of bringing up like different areas of film or things of that I have like really no idea of looking at in terms of like anime or this and that. So
Oh, so you've gotten like recommendations from him and you check it out and you're like, this is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, he's told me about a bunch of stuff, and then a lot of stuff too is like I used to be in the anime when I was a little younger, but I guess when I got into high school, nobody else was really watching it, so I kind of fell off of it. But like he brings up stuff like he talks a lot about like Naruto or something like that. I'm like, oh yeah, I used to watch that way back in the day. I want to get back into that, you know. So and
Ah.
he'll recommend me parts to watch and stuff like that, and with movies as well. I mean, he knows like a vast amount of anime uh, movies and stuff like that. So it's nuts.
No, so you like the different perspective he gives on the movies, like it's a different way to look at the movies, and you having a conversation with him about that.
Right. Exactly.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. God, did you notice that you've seen the new Spider-Man, right? Obviously, you did a review about it.
Yeah.
There's political levels in that movie, I feel.
I mean, was there really? I mean, they brought up that one thing with the slaves, and then they kind of never touched on anything else again. I feel like,
Oh,
but
not that. I know that was just like a quick throwaway line for who built the Washington Monument. Like the
yeah,
Zendaya character didn't want to go to it because it was built by slaves.
yeah,
But
right.
I just felt like the whole part of the villain was based on the fact of
Oh, right.
like he's sticking up for the little guy, like it's the rich that are taking away all our money and stealing everything from us, and it's like what we work hard and what are we doing when everything just goes to the top 1%.
Right. And it makes it kind of weird too because especially in this time and space, and I don't know exactly when they wrote this movie, came up with the plot, but I mean, obviously, a lot of the Trump campaign was a lot of his criticism was that he screwed over a lot of small businesses. So I don't know where the politics lie on that. Are they making and obviously, I mean, if we're really talking about the political spectrum, I guess, his and I don't know if this is a spoiler for the movie or whatever, but there's a twist in Spider-Man: Homecoming with Vulture that implicates that he's at least representative of some sort of like liberalism. You know what I mean? Like
Uh,
I don't want to spoil that for
we'll
people who
spoil it.
haven't seen.
I'll say spoiler alert right now and just like fast forward like 5 minutes.
Okay, yeah, right.
So spoilers for Spider-Man: Homecoming. What are you talking about? Him being the father of
Of
the
Liz,
uh huh.
like being married to a black woman, you know?
Oh
I
oh
mean, like, I
okay.
don't know if that's like a political thing or not, but it's obviously saying something about his place in like the spectrum. You know what I mean?
Like back like 10 years ago, it would have been just a white wife. It wouldn't have been a black wife.
Right. I mean, I don't want to break it down to like liberals or conservatives or whatever, but a lot of the times, we see a lot of the people on the right are kind of um I don't want to say narrow spectrumed or
Like closed-minded, you mean?
like yeah, I mean there's a certain belief that happens in the South and more of those areas that's a little, I don't know. Maybe I'm diverging off.
It's
I
just
don't know if this is a good thing to talk
it's a
about,
little
but
more conservative than like a normal like big city liberal type place.
well, yeah, I mean, especially since they're painting the Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man character as this 1% rich, overtly over everybody, screwing over the little guys. They're putting him on that side of the spectrum, and they're putting the Vulture on a more open-minded. Well, it's not just by him being married to a black woman that I'm saying
Oh.
that. It's also because I mean, you see a lot of his speeches a lot about, oh, I'm trying to help people, I'm trying to free people. Or he's talking more about like he wants people to have power in what they do by themselves, like that's a lot of what he's talking about in
Oh.
that movie. So it kind of puts Spider-Man Homecoming in like this weird position of um, almost villainizing, I guess, like
Like liberals or
liberals
working
or
working class?
working class, blue collar, like 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 kind
Uh,
of not exactly conservatives but I
I
don't
didn't
know. I don't know what kind of political agenda they're going. See, that's why I don't know. I don't want to say anything bad about it or anything good about it. I don't know what they're going for. So
Yeah, that makes sense. I can see like someone reading into it and saying, "Hey, this guy he's been screwed over so many times, and like there's a limit where he's going to become a villain, and they're just villainizing the liberals. They're like, I don't know. Like the hero is conservative, 1% white man, and the liberal or the villain is the nuclear family in New York, I guess.
Yeah, nuclear family, like kind of accepting of a new wave of feminism, of a new wave of interracial marriage, and a new wave of um, kind of having putting power in the hands of the little people. And
Mm.
that's where the politics get a little muddled for me, because if he's the bad guy, what are the studio's trying to say? But again, I enjoyed the movie so much, I don't want to even spread that kind of agenda that they're going for. I mean, I know Vulture, the website Vulture,
Yeah.
they wrote like an extensive piece about it. But I don't really like, but that's really where that becomes conflicting to me. So
Yeah, I didn't
uh,
think about that. I noticed the political implications of him. Like, oh, I'm always screwed over by the 1%, but I didn't think about like, oh, he becomes the villain, and that's how like we are portrayed as villains, the working class people, I guess.
right, right. But I think it's also poignant to say something about making him just the average working guy too. I mean, um, maybe looking at it outside of politics is just saying that, oh, this guy um, has not had the support that he deserves in supporting the middle class throughout the government, liberal or conservative, Republican or Democrat. He just hasn't had the opportunities to thrive as a middle class American. So it's a lot of strange economical implications that are kind of twisted to make a compelling villain
Yeah.
that I believe a lot of people can relate to in that sense. So
Yeah, that's what I liked. I like the villain he was like well thought out. He's just trying to, in the end, he's trying to feed his family. Like with all like he's a hardworking guy. He's just trying to provide for his family. He's not trying to like take over the world or have all this dominance and power and everything. Like he's just trying to make the money.
right, and then like he's not even really trying to like hurt people, but he just really wants he just really wants Spider-Man to stay out of his way.
Yeah.
Like basically at the end of the day, it's like this kid keeps bugging me. I don't know what else to do.
Yeah. He's like, I'm just
Um,
trying to make a living over here and have this punk kid trying to stop me. Like, yeah, he is selling like like weapons to like I don't know, like drug dealers or just bad people.
right,
But like he said, like Tony Stark did the same thing. He just did it on a much larger scale.
right, exactly.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it's interesting. I mean, again, I already know the comments are just gonna destroy me, and that's fine. I'm ready for it. But
It's fine, but
uh,
because you did enjoy the movie, right?
no, I did. I love the movie. I
Yeah.
love it. It's maybe my favorite Spider-Man movie, but I don't know about comparing them because they all speak somewhat differently to different emotions, different actions, all this kind of stuff. So I don't really like comparing it to the other ones. But I mean, as a pure experience, I haven't had this much fun in a movie in a long time. So
Wow.
I
Yeah.
mean, I love it. So I don't want people to think I'm hating on this movie or I'm putting some sort of negative spin on it. No, that's not true. And like this is all just things that are just like kind of free flowing
Yeah,
that
yeah.
a lot of people have been having conversations about. So
Yeah, it makes sense. Part of the culture. You said it's on Vulture, like people are talking about it, writing about it.
right, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed the movie. I just like it's hard to compare with the old movies, but I do, and I don't know if it's because I grew up with the old Spider-Man, but I felt like those were more deeper, personal type movie as opposed to this one. It's very surface level, very MCU type movie.
Right, right. And I don't disagree with that at all. I think what they were trying to capture in their original films were like this essence of old-timey, like affectionate puppy dog love between him and Mary Jane, while also touching on this deep moral responsibility implicated by Uncle Ben and all of these people. And they had a lot of questions that Spider-Man had to answer.
Yeah,
And there's
very.
not a lot of questions that are answered here in Spider-Man: Homecoming, at least.
Yeah, sorry. I felt like in the original two Spider-Man, there were like deep themes, like of like coming of age, growing up, having these secrets, and like trying to deal with it. And like I felt that it was a very deeper movie as opposed to this new one.
Right, definitely. And I wouldn't be mistaken to say that at all. I mean, there is, and even looking at the Amazing Spider-Man films, they tried to go a little bit deeper into that. And I think the problem with those were they went too overboard with trying to implicate this emotional heaviness, and I think that's where a lot of it spilled over. But with the original Spider-Mans, they did as well, as they were able to bring in a lot of these deep things while also keep it like very funny and light and true to like the superhero nature. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, yeah. It was still like a superhero movie, and like it still had the great set pieces and the action shots and everything, and the web slingings and all that. Which I didn't. What I don't say. I don't want to say like this one didn't. I just felt like the first one had more.
Well, yeah, there were definitely for the original as well. They're going for this epic, big, larger than life feel because at the time there was really no other superhero movies happening at that kind of scale. So they had to make it like this grand operatic thing. So and I think now in 2017 that we've just become so desensitized to all of this stuff. It's like, yeah, let's rein it back. And I was watching an interesting video last night. They were talking about how the MCU adapted Spider-Man to fit into this universe and how it's like very smart. Like, for example, the whole idea of the moving eyes is something that they do in the comics a lot, but it doesn't really work cinematically.
Mm.
At least in the past Spider-Man movies. But instead of like, you remember how in the old Raimi films, like at the end of each battle sequence, somehow his mask would get ripped off or
Yeah, yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
Like they had to do that to show like some sort of emotion on the actor's face.
Oh, because the face wouldn't move, so you wouldn't know if he's like furrowing his brow or something like that.
Right, exactly. Like it was hard to get the emotional read. So by having the moving eyes be mechanical, is really smart because you do get to see an emotional side of Spider-Man happening, without having him to remove his mask. And same thing, like we were talking about the web slinging, they purposefully had that whole sequence where he's running through the backyard, where he can't like swing webs really.
Oh yeah, in the
Um,
suburbs.
Right, exactly. Like they're doing that to like purposely avoid like the stereotype of the old movies. I felt like at least,
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Did you like the whole suit being like a kind of like a Jarvis 2.0?
yeah, it was interesting, and I think that allowed the opportunity to give Spider-Man somebody to interact with.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
So it's not like, because I know in the comic books, I mean, I've been reading Spider-Man comics for a long time. A lot of it is him in speech bubbles, like talking to himself.
Mm.
And I don't really know if that'll work in a MCU movie, in a live action movie.
Uh-huh.
So I think giving him Karen, I believe her name was,
Yeah.
um, giving him somebody to interact with, I think was a really genius idea as well.
Yeah. I enjoyed it, but I can see the problems where it's like, oh, it's Iron Man 2.0. Like I want a Spider-Man separate from like an Iron Man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's understandable criticism as well.
Uh-huh. Sorry, before we go, when you said we become desensitized to movies and like we're so like saturated with action movies and comic book movies, have you seen Baby Driver?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay, with that, like if I hadn't seen like a Fast and Furious movie with like all these like CGI type things, I would appreciate it so much more. Like I did love Baby Driver, but I feel like I've seen it all before, so it's like even if it is like practical like driving, like I'm
Mhm.
so desensitized to it. Does that make sense?
Right, right. No, I mean that totally makes a lot of sense. I think for me, Baby Driver, a lot of it worked better as the movie became more intense emotionally.
Mm.
Because I mean, I know a lot of people really enjoyed the first action scene, but I thought it was just kind of like another really cool, well shot action movie. For me personally. Uh,
The first like the opening sequence where he drives away.
right, right,
Oh,
right,
okay, yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Like I thought it was very nice and well executed, but I didn't know. I didn't really feel like the action and momentum building at that point.
Mm.
But I feel like when the stakes got raised emotionally and personally, like when Jamie Foxx came in, we started seeing him being like this crazy psychopathic character, then I started to feel like a lot more tension in the action and all that stuff. And I think to that point it built up to a level where I became really like on the edge of my seat and involved. That was me personally, but
Yeah, I loved Baby Driver. It's my favorite, probably my favorite movie this year.
mm,
Because of like the small, like it is a great action movie, but also like the small with Jamie Foxx's character, with John Hamm's character, like you don't know what they're gonna do, and it's really surprising where the story goes. But it's just so like edge of your seat, like tense movie for me.
right. No, I mean, then it was nuts how they were able to get the timing right with the editing of the music and the shots and the way like the gunshots to match up with the beats of the drum
Uh-huh.
and the music. It was, I mean, to me that was like, wow, this is incredible.
Yeah,
The way they're able to incorporate music into this movie.
yeah, the editing, the sound mixing, everything. That's why I felt like that movie was like technically a lot better than Spider-Man, because Spider-Man doesn't do any of that. It's just like kind of like a surface level movie. But I shouldn't compare the movies together.
Right. I mean, there was one scene in Spider-Man: Homecoming that I will say is probably my favorite scene of the year so far, and I guess a lot of people who've seen it didn't really experience it the same way as me. But I saw Spider-Man: Homecoming in 3D,
Oh,
and when they had that whole Washington Monument sequence,
oh,
like to me that was, I mean, I couldn't believe how they used 3D in that scene to just really enhance the fear factor of it, at least.
oh. Yeah, I didn't think about that because I don't like seeing movies in 3D, but I can see how that would enhance it, because like there is a shot where you go over Spider-Man, you see like behind him where it's just like a giant fall behind him.
Right, exactly. And 3D is made like even worse. And it was and a lot of people talk about seeing that movie. You remember that Joseph Gordon-Levitt movie The Walk, where he's walking across,
Yeah, that's what it reminded
like,
me of, like he's walking across the Twin Towers.
right. And a lot of people were talking about like throwing up when they originally saw that. Like for me, that one was fine.
Uh-huh.
But seeing that scene in Spider-Man Homecoming, I legit almost threw up in the
Really?
theater. Like, yeah, it was that inducing for me.
Oh shit. Yeah, I didn't think about that. I should probably see it in 3D then, just for that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a cool scene. I don't know about the rest of the movie's conversion, but that scene in particular
Oh, the rest of
was
it doesn't
cool.
really enhance it.
Yeah, it wasn't like too enhanced by the 3D, but for the rest of it at least, I feel like they blew all their budget making sure that one scene was just like really awesome.
Yeah, and also going back to Baby Driver, I love the sound mixing, because did you notice like subtle things in the sound where like John Hamm takes out the earphone of the guy and the music just playing from the left side of the movie theater?
Oh no, I didn't know that.
I noticed that was pretty cool. I just like little subtle things like that where it's like that's awesome.
Right, right, right. Oh, that's nice. I know like they had a like an opening like number almost where he's like kind of dancing around the city. And then and like as he's walking, like the graffiti behind him would like reflect the lyrics as he hit like that particular point in the song. Like,
Yeah, yeah, it would say like yeah on the floor or something like woo.
right,
Yeah, yeah.
right, right. That was cool.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, man, a lot of good movies out, man. I got to see more movies.
yeah.
I got to see Wonder Woman still.
Well, see, it's funny, man, because I didn't really like a lot of the movies that were coming out this year, up until this point. There's really only like four or five movies that I were really impressed with
Uh-huh.
throughout the year. But like now is like like the end of June, July ramps up. There's becoming like more and more of like those big hits for me, like Baby Driver or Spider Man or I'm very excited to see War of the Planet of the Apes. I haven't got to see that yet, but
Oh yeah, but I think we talked about this. You've seen the first two, right?
so our first two like opening day
And
when
you
they came out.
yeah, and you like the second one better?
Yeah, the second one is was not only like one of my favorite Planet of the Apes movies, but I think that was one of the favorites of like the year for me. Like that was a huge, just outside of it being about apes on horses. It was like very emotionally like moving for me. So
Wow.
I love that movie,
The
and
sec the,
I own it on Blu-ray and everything too. So
the
yeah,
second one, The Dawn of the Planet of the Apes?
it Don, yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
yeah, I got to see that one, cuz I love the first one. I don't know why I just never got around to seeing the second one.
Well, they're very different films too, which I think a lot of people, I I guess people who were thrown off by the difference between Rise and Dawn. I don't know if they were big fans of Dawn or not, but there's a big difference in like those movies, not just on a CGI level, but on a story level too.
Oh, it
So
is different because I noticed it's a different director, and also James Franco isn't in it, right?
right, right. Like they take it in a completely different direction. And in the first one, where the humans are kind of the heroes, or I guess like the anti-heroes or antithesis to the apes, here they are either treated as straight companions, or they're either treated as companions or enemies. And like there's a lot of gray area in between there that they have fun exploring.
Oh, so it's like, who do you root for, the apes or the people?
Right, right. I mean, you're mostly rooting for the apes because the opening 20 minutes or so is just with the apes. But then when they bring in some of the human characters that are supporting these apes, then you got start to you understand with Caesar why there's a reason to keep humanity to to hold humanity close, and how that theme is like deconstructed in this movie is really
Wow.
interesting.
So it's like
Yeah.
it's a really deep movie. It's not just like apes on horses, you said.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And obviously the direction of it was like really interesting. Like the action was impeccable. So and in reading the reviews for War of the Planet of the Apes, a lot of people are raving about it. So I might have to get out and see that very soon. So
Yeah, you got to see it, man. We got to see a lot of movies.
yeah, we do, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for talking to me, man. I hope to. Well, I'm gonna see you at Comic-Con this year, and I hope to have fun.
Yeah, man, I'm very excited.
Yeah. What are you most excited for before we go? Do you know if they're
Um
releasing anything, or do you hope they release anything?
Well, I'm hoping to see what they're gonna do with the DC panel.
Uh huh.
I don't know if they're gonna bring out the same big presentation like they did last time, where they had like Will Smith, Ben Affleck, or they had all the directors come out. I don't know what they're gonna do now, or how they're going to because DC's coming off the big hit with Wonder Woman, so I wonder if they're gonna announce the Wonder Woman 2, or if
Ah.
they're gonna show some footage from Justice League where there's more Wonder Woman, or is Joss Whedon gonna come out? I'm excited to see all around.
Oh yeah. If like Patty Jenkins is gonna come out and say like, "Hey, I'm directing Wonder Woman too."
Right, exactly. Yeah, I'm very fascinated to see that.
Wow.
So
Yeah. Well, thank you for talking to me, man. What's your Twitter and Instagram and all that?
Twitter, Instagram, RB3 Schmoes. You can check out my Spider-Man Homecoming review on my YouTube page, just at Robert Butler III. So and I'm also starting kind of like a side podcast with a couple of my high school friends. We're called the Lucky Scholars. You can look us up on YouTube. We will be there. So
Okay. Is it gonna be on your like YouTube channel, or is it gonna be its own YouTube channel?
this is on YouTube channel, the Lucky Scholars.
Oh.
It's very lo-fi and sounds awful, but that's what we have going.
All right. Well, good luck with that, man. Thank you for talking to me.
Thank you for inviting me again.
All right.
Appreciate it.
All right. See you later.